He's a tough street-fighting lawyer with the highest ratings for honesty and integrity. He's here to answer your legal questions and get you the help you need. You're listening to The Legal Lowdown with your lawyer, Joe Ingram of Joe Ingram Law. Joe Ingram has more than 20 years' experience fighting for his clients here in the state of Alabama. Joe's focus is criminal defense and family law. You don't have to face your legal issue alone. You've got Joe Ingram on your side. In case of sensitive legal matters, you can always reach out directly to Joe at joeingramlaw.com and arrange for a private consultation. And now, Alabama's defender of the defenseless, protector of the people, and all-around good guy, Joe Ingram.
All right. You're listening to the Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram on WERC 105.5, 105.5 in Birmingham, WBHP up in Huntsville, and WRTR in Tuscaloosa. All right, we're halfway through July. School is about to start, and we have a fabulous guest today with us. I have been teasing this for a couple weeks. We have the mayor of Hoover with us, Nick Derzis, who's going to give us 50 minutes of his time. And we're going to go right to him because I don't want to waste 1 minute of this. I have been so excited for this for weeks. Mayor, how are you today, sir?
Fantastic. I appreciate you having me on.
Mayor, thank you for taking your time to do this. I know you're busy. I can't imagine your schedule. So I really appreciate this. So, Mayor, I know you're well known around town. But for our listeners, I want to talk a little bit about your background, your childhood, how you got to be where you are today. And so in my research, I tried to find as much as I could about you while you were running for mayor. You grew up in a family. Your father was a military officer.
He was.
And you've got an older brother that's just slightly older than you, 16 months. Right?
Correct.
Okay. Talk a little bit about, because your brother did in an interview for you, talk about growing up in the home where your dad's a military officer. How did that shape your childhood, and does it still shape you today in any way?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I was born in Berlin, Germany, Army Hospital. My brother was born in Trieste, Italy. So we lived overseas this first several years when we were both born. And we lived in a military household. My dad was a colonel, eventually became the commandant of the U.S. Army Intelligence School in Fort Hollywood, Maryland. So growing up, it was a very strict household. It was a yes, sir, no, sir. I can remember when we lived in Maryland, when my brother and I would answer the phone, we would say, quarters 13, Nick Derzis speaking. So that kind of gives you any idea of the military aspect of our household. So, of course, I went into into service like my dad. I did not do military service, but I did police service for 45 years. He was a guy that felt like you should give back to your country, to your community, and stressed that to us, both of us, growing up. Great parents. Mom, we moved so many times. My mom actually was a buyer in New York City before my parents got married, and then when they got married, my dad entered the military and they started traveling. So she never really, I would say, never had she was a homemaker, but not an actual getting paid to go somewhere to work. But we grew up in a great childhood. We fond memories. My brother and I were talking recently of living in France and different places that we lived, and I think it was really a great childhood. Some people would say, well, how could it have been great? You moved around so much. Well, it was great because you met people from different countries, different nationalities, different customs. And I think it helped both of us as we grow older understand people. And in my line of work as police for over 44 years and then as a police chief for 21, understand people. We're a people business. And understanding why some people do things and others don't, and what does your nationality play into that, I think it was great. Listen, I wouldn't have changed a thing growing up, and we always called the Arlington, Virginia home base because my dad was at the Pentagon there. We actually lived there twice.
Okay. And if, just for our viewers listening, you were voted senior class president of your senior class.
I was.
In fact, Warren Beatty went to the same high school as you.
He did.
And my understanding from watching that tape that he was the senior class president. I think he was roughly 15 years older than you. I think that's what I understood.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how much. He was older, but it was funny because it was the plaque that they had at the high school that showed the senior class presidents just happened. It was Warren Beatty, and then on the second side, it had my name. So I always use that as a pretty cool deal. He was funny talking with even back in those days. People knew him as an actor, obviously. Even when I was in high school, he'd already come out with some movies and so forth. And I would ask some of the teachers and so forth that had been there for a long time. He was an athlete, played sports, never did any acting or anything like that in high school. So all that came after he left school. So interesting life he had, obviously.
Have you kept in touch with anybody that you went to high school with still?
Yeah, sure. I actually was in Washington, D.C. last week.
Right.
Saw
that.
See our congressional delegation and made a couple calls to old buddies of mine from the high school days, and always great to kind of catch up with them.
Are they surprised of where you are, or did they say, I figured you'd probably end up being something like that?
Well, they knew me as a police chief for all those years, so they actually, a lot of them called me during the campaign. I'm not sure really how they found out that I was running for mayor. I never really called them to tell them that, but you don't want to tell anybody you're doing anything until you win, right? So I wasn't going to tell them first. But, it's interesting. It was, the high school days were great there. Washington High School, big high school in Arlington, and voted class president, which was fun. And again, I think most of those guys knew that. I think probably some of them were probably surprised that I got into police work instead of the military because of the household that when they would come by the house. They called my dad the Colonel. That's what they called him in those days. So they knew that he was just kind of a disciplinarian, and all he wanted you to do was just do the right thing. And he always told me, if you got to think about it, you probably don't need to do it.
Yeah. Hey, just quick question, if you remember, how many people were in your senior class when you finished high school?
600 something.
Wow, that was big back then.
Yeah. Well, big. Arlington and again, very diverse. Obviously, being the melting pot of America. One of my schoolmates that lived real close to us. Her dad was the gardener at the White House, so you always had people that had really significant jobs in the D.C. area from school. Just some of the things I can remember.
Okay. So, how is it that you chose to go be a police officer? How did you choose that occupation? I mean,
well, when I first came to Birmingham when I was 20 years old, and I came because my uncle, Mike Matzis, owned Michael's Restaurant downtown.
Okay, yeah,
on 20th Street.
Yeah,
and you pretty much owned that a whole block. You had Michael's, you had Amos's Cantina, you had Pat James Lounge, you had there was other things I can't remember, but he owned the whole block. And back in those days, he had just purchased the Golden Rule Barbecue over in Irondale.
Okay,
the original one.
The original one. Yeah.
So it was summertime, and he calls me up and he said, "Why don't you come and work with me this summer?" And I, restaurant business. So I said, "Okay, I'll come." And I worked out there in Irondale and found out pretty quickly that the restaurant business is probably not something that I want to do for a living, and pretty tough business, honestly.
Yeah, it's hard work.
Hard work. And so kind of brought me to Alabama, and then he talked me into coming to Alabama for a little while, and I'm going to open up another Golden Rule, and let me teach you the business and just kind of see if you like it. So I moved here and worked with him, opened up the Golden Rule Barbecue in Hoover for a period of time. And even in high school, I always enjoyed the aspect of police work because I always liked the idea of not being in an office. I like the idea of things being different every day, and I like the idea of some action. And I thought that would be it. Well, Hoover Police, when I was in the restaurant in Hoover Police probably had, 15, 16, 17 policemen at that time.
Yeah.
I mean, it was obviously a very, very Andy and Mayberry type deal. Literally, when I say they had 2 jail cells, they had 2 jail cells. And the chief finally talked to me a couple of times. He would come in, and he finally said, I really would love for you to do this. Well, the pay was $800 a month. And I can assure you the restaurant business I was making a lot more than that, even though we're going back many, many years. So when I decided that I might give that a shot, people thought that I had literally lost my mind. I mean, you're going from owning part owner. I owned a very small percentage. My uncle had to take me to the bank and co-sign a loan because I didn't have any credit at that time in my life to become an owner of a restaurant. So he takes me to the bank, signs a lease, signs a loan with me, paid it back, and worked there for a few years when the chief started talking to me about potentially going to work as a police officer. And then when I made the migration to police, people, like I say, people really thought that I was nuts. And the rest is history. I mean, literally, I started taking some tests to get promoted, and I was able to get promoted. I was there this past February 19th, 40 years ago. I was in a police uniform at the Galleria Mall opening day.
Wow.
It was 40 years. Hard to believe that. And the funny thing is when people say, how was that first day? Well, the first day was really remarkable. First of all, the crowds came from obviously all over the state, and I think out of state to come see it. Biggest mall in the Southeast, attached to an office tower and a hotel. And I'll never forget when they cut the ribbon, Jim Wilson from Montgomery, who built it, when they cut the ribbon, you had the $1 Million Band from the University of Alabama. You had the Auburn Marching Band. I'm talking about the big bands.
Right.
That when they cut the ribbon, they marched out in different directions playing their fight song. So again, pretty significant to think a mall's opening and you got the 2 big bands there. And, things, that was a catalyst for growth, catalyst for us to build the new city hall, catalyst for all the different shopping centers that obviously popped up after that, and really started the real, put Hoover literally on the map.
On the map.
Yeah.
So that's where I want to go.
Yeah.
So Galleria opens 40 years ago, and it's hard to say this. I was 14 at the time. So thinking about in your career of 45 years at Hoover, do you drive around and have nostalgia? I mean, when you go like down John Hawkins Parkway, none of that was there a long time ago.
Two lanes back there.
Yeah. Do you ever just drive around and go, I remember when none of this was here, like from my hometown? Mm-hmm. And is Galleria what made Hoover put it on the map? Would you say that?
No question, absolutely. Listen, prior, John Hawkins was a 2-lane highway with trees on both sides. I mean, there was nothing there, and all the way to Shades Crest. And then all of a sudden, Galleria's coming. Started seeing some build up on 150 John Hawkins, and really incredible now to witness and see what's taking place there. It is nostalgia. Listen, I can remember before the Galleria was built, that was just a big old hill over there.
Yeah.
And when they started tearing the hill down, obviously John Harbert was instrumental, Jim Wilson, and those guys on Saturdays for the construction crew, they'd invite the police over. On a Saturday, they would fly steaks in from out west. They'd have big grills out there, and Mr. Wilson and Mr. Harbert would get out there and talk and thank everyone for the hard work that was going on and cook steaks. So yeah, when I think back and see what took place then, and it was just literally a hill, dirt hill, to see what's taken place in the last 40 years and the catalyst for economic development in Hoover. Really remarkable and remarkable really that those guys had, and I would say Mr. Wilson had that type of vision to think that something that big could go into a city that probably most people didn't know Hoover, Alabama from anywhere.
Yeah. So talking about the Galleria, I know that it went up on the up for sale in June. It was finally approved.
Right.
I know you get asked this a lot, and I haven't seen anything in any prior interview, so that's why I'm asking. I don't want to ask you something to be repetitive. What do you envision that being? Is it going to be something like mixed use condos? I mean, what do y'all think?
Well, the last administration did a couple $100,000 study. Yeah. It actually did 2 studies.
Right.
And the studies came out pretty much the same thing. The last study I was very disappointed in. The last study, they didn't even do the whole Galleria. They just did one portion of the Galleria. They didn't do Patton Creek, and to me, that's all-encompassing. So, they said that the majority of the mall needs to be, closed down and reinvented into majority of apartments.
Or I saw something about a hospital clinic or something, right?
No, not this last study. The last study was pretty much apartments.
Okay.
Yeah, and can't get excited about that at all. I envision, and I'll be honest with you, we have had some discussions with some potential individuals that have been interested in purchasing because they're taking the bids as we speak. And some of them that we've talked to, they're talking about stuff that we want to do. We want to have it reimagined. We do realize that it's probably too big. But one thing we do know that some of those anchor stores need to be different. Right? Need to be different.
Because the square foot, it doesn't fit anymore.
Doesn't fit anymore. And I would say that when people say that malls are not doing business, I say too, I know enough about reading today that a lot of the Gen X individuals, young people, are spending money, but you know what they want? They want to touch stuff. They're not buying everything over the internet. They want to go somewhere and touch. I say go to the Summit on a Saturday and find parking spot real easy. They do a lot of business over there. And I think they do a lot of business because they've got stores that entice people to come shop.
Yeah.
And that's what we've lost. We don't have the stores to entice people. And that's why whoever gets real serious about purchasing, we want a seat at the table to be able to talk to them and to explain to them what our vision is too. And hopefully our vision will match their vision. Because I'm going to tell you right now, the bones of the Galleria are excellent. The location is excellent. We've talked about Costco, the number 1 retailer in the city of Hoover.
Yeah.
You could throw a stone from Costco into the parking lot of the Galleria. You can look at Home Depot, one of the top Home Depots in Alabama. Mm-hmm. So again, the area is great. Usually declining malls have an issue because of crime, because of demographics are not good. Crime is again. I put our statistics for crime against any city of almost 100,000 people in the Southeast. I mean, our police do a heck of a job, and I was just proud to spend 40 some odd years there, and we shaped and had a tremendous culture. And the culture was, if you come out here and try to commit a crime, you may commit it, but we're coming after you. And we're going to catch you, and the majority of the time we do, and continue to do. So I say that to say that even the parking decks, you've got plenty of space. Look at the egress that we've got at the Galleria compared to the Summit.
Right.
You look at the flyover that puts you back. The flyover today, if you built that, it'd be over $200 million.
Yeah.
To build a flyover. So again, I think there's going to be people that want to be here.
Okay. So while we're talking about the Galleria, we just had the SEC media days down in, I think it was down in Tampa, Florida.
It was.
Yeah. Okay. So you know where I'm going with this.
I do.
For a long time, it was at the Winfrey. It was a big deal. 2 questions for you.
Okay.
Because you would know this more than anybody. What do you think the revenue that has been lost from that, 1, and 2, I've thought a lot about this. I know the SEC expanded. We picked up Texas and Oklahoma. We got a bigger footprint, right? Sure. But a lot of these other states have pro teams. College football is Alabama. You know that. I mean,
it is.
It is what we are. It's what we live. So what are your 2 thoughts about the loss of the revenue you think we've lost from that? And I understand the SEC's got a bigger footprint now, but it seems like it needs to be coming back this way.
Yeah, and we hope that does. And again, I really think that when we talk about the reason that it's not here right now, I really think it probably has a lot to do with the conditions of the whole mall. It's not a vibrant looking deal right now, to be perfectly honest with you. And I think if we get the revitalization that I think we'll get, and I'm telling you, I ran on it, and I would say we cannot fail. We cannot fail. We're losing probably $10 million a year in tax revenue to our city because of the type of business that it's not doing compared to the day that it was the catalyst to our city. So I would say that we may have lost it today, but I would not be surprised if we see it back in the future. And again, SEC baseball we've had for over 25 years,
right.
And huge success again this year. Now that we got 16 teams in the SEC, all 16 teams come, which makes it a little tough sometimes because it's single elimination at the beginning, and you got those guys. Well, look at Oklahoma. Oklahoma wins the World Series, right?
Right.
And lost one game and went back to Oklahoma. So how things have changed with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, I lost my train of thought here for the next question. You went too fast on me. I was going to ask you something else about the Galleria. So, all right. So, yeah, let me ask you this, and I'm not trying to pin you down. What do you think the timeline is on doing something with the Galleria? I mean, do you envision that within your first term here?
Yes, I do. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, no question. I think you'll see the sale of the Galleria prior to the end of this year.
Okay.
So the next 3 or 4 months. And then I think after the sale, I think you'll start seeing things happen. So I would not be surprised if next year you'll start seeing some activity.
Well, that's great.
Yeah,
you just made some good news here.
I'm very hopeful, and I wouldn't say it if I didn't think it would happen.
All right, so you brought up what's it called next door?
Patton Creek.
Yes, sir. All right, so has nothing to do against your administration. I really believe that was just part of what happened after COVID. Or do you think that was overbuilt? I mean, the reason I ask it that way, Mayor, is if you go down 280, like going towards the Greystone area, and you see all those big box stores that are empty over there, and that where Lowe's is and all that. Mm-hmm. Do you think we just built too much shopping space, or do you still think it is a viable option to bring that back and make it useful in that? Does that make sense?
Yeah. That thing's huge, as far as
right.
acreage-wise. It's a huge piece of property. So my understanding, 3, 4, 5 years ago, the owners started thinking about reimagining, doing some different things there. So as leases were coming up, they did not want to release. They wanted people to leave so they could change the concept.
Okay.
Well, guess what? They let people leave and didn't change the concept. So it sold. It sold to another company who we've met with several times. They bought it in a portfolio with many, many other malls. They bought it, did not know what they bought. Literally, they're used to buying small malls. They owned the mall actually across the street from City Hall, Guitar Center, right across from City Hall.
Right.
And that's usually the type of things that they purchase. Well, all of a sudden they fly in and go, "Wow, we've never really had anything this big." So they weren't really sure, I think, what they were going to do. We gave them some names of some developers that we know that have an interest. That completely needs to be reimagined. I would not be surprised if that could be some mixed use. I think there could be some more green space. But again, the size of the mall, just to say that it would be all boxes and try to be retail, won't work.
Okay.
Won't work.
We're having a fascinating discussion with the Mayor of Hoover, Nick Derzis. We'll be back after news and weather. Stay tuned.
You're listening to The Legal Lowdown with your lawyer, Joe Ingram. If you need confidential legal help off air, reach out to Joe at joeingramlaw.com. Stay tuned for more. Joe will be right back after this break for news and weather.
Flat Fee Real Estate of Birmingham. What sets us apart from other real estate brokerages? Flat Fee Real Estate of Birmingham is a full-service real estate brokerage that can significantly reduce the amount you pay to sell your home. There are no high commission fees here. Our brokerage was established right here in Birmingham over 10 years ago, and they remain locally owned and operated. Here you will find agents with over 50 years of combined service and experience, and with excellent performance, whether listing or buying with us. We are there with you every step of the way, so you feel confident you've made the right decision when it comes to your home. Give us a call today, Flat Fee Real Estate of Birmingham. You know, here on the Legal Lowdown, we talk a lot about protecting what's yours. So let me tell you about the folks I trust to do exactly that around your home. Shelby Fence Company. For over 30 years, this is the name the Birmingham metro area has trusted for fence installation and repair, done right the first time. They do wood, aluminum, chain link, even agricultural fencing, both residential or commercial. They design it to fit your property. They build it with quality materials to stand up to Alabama weather, and they show you when they show up on time. They even remove and replace. Their crews are professional. The workmanship speaks for itself. So whether you're putting up a brand new fence or fixing the one that you've got, call the team I trust, Shelby Fence Company, at 205-664-1551, or you can find them at shelbyfencecompany.com. Tell them Joe sent you.
You're listening to The Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram. Joe is a 20-year veteran of the Alabama courts specializing in criminal defense and family law. If you need a private legal consultation, email Joe at joeingramlaw.com. And now, welcome back to The Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram.
All right, we're back for the second segment of the first hour of the Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram, your Alabama lawyer on WERC 105.5 in Birmingham, WBHP up in Huntsville, and WRTR in Tuscaloosa. If you've been listening this morning, and I know you had, and had your first cup of coffee, we have Mayor Nick Derzis in the house with us, and he has been great with his time, and I got about 24 more minutes with him, and I'm excited. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
All right, so right before we went to break, we were talking about the Patton Creek, and we were talking during the break. We were talking about more type, what's the word, mixed use. Yeah. Expand upon that just a little bit for
everybody. It is a big piece of property. And we've got new ownership the last couple of years. And as I told you at the break, when the ownership bought it, they bought it in a portfolio of a lot of different malls around the country. And when they got here, they were somewhat surprised and shocked at the size, because it is a big piece of property. They've never really developed anything like that. So as time has gone by, we've actually had some discussions with that ownership and another development group that's actually out of state. They've been talking, and my hope is that they may come together and do something, combined. And what they're talking about doing is some pretty neat stuff. And when I say mixed use, obviously it's a huge footprint. I could see some more green space, more food and beverage types places, maybe a small little area that they could have small concerts, but just some things that are a little bit different. And really, I think they want to do is attract people. You got to have foot traffic. You got to attract people for a reason to come to you and spend money.
Yeah. And during the break, I told you, this is my own opinion. So you're the mayor of Hoover. I'm going to put this in your ear.
Okay.
I would like to see some type of new concert venue, because we closed Oak Mountain Amphitheater. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with what we got downtown, the Coca-Cola one, but I'd like to have something south of Birmingham. So maybe we could envision something a little smaller, like, not maybe not as big as Oak Mountain, but I mean, they got a lot. We had a lot of good concerts there.
There's no question. Spent a lot of Friday or Saturday nights out there. A lot of good shows. And that remains to be seen. And again, if these two entities get together, that's certainly something that we could float to them and say, hey, what's the possibilities of you trying to do something for more entertainment? And we do hear in Hoover that they would like more entertainment.
Yeah.
So that's not, I would say, completely out of the question of trying to do something. It'd be fun, no question about it. We've had some concerts at the Met and may try to do some more. I'm not sure if you're aware, but Saturday, August 8th, just in a couple of weeks, we've got the Bulls at the Park. There's going to be a PBR little bull riding competition out there.
Okay.
So that should be kind of an interesting concept there.
Yeah. And when I was thinking about, an open air concert kind of thing, I bring that up because we just finished the primaries, and Jared Hudson and I believe John Wall both had some kind of parties out near the new part behind
By the Met.
By the Met.
Yeah.
There's some
It's a brewery.
Brewery.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I think they were both had events out there.
They did.
Yeah.
They did.
And so that takes us to, I know you're proud of, you guys have just started working on phase 2 out there. Talk a little bit about that and what that's going to be.
Yeah, well, phase 2, number one, if you've ever been to phase 1 on a weekend, very, very tough to find a parking spot. The restaurants and other activities out there, just pack them in. So phase 2 is going to give us, open up additional parking over there. There's going to be Chasing Aces. Chasing Aces is going to be a par 3 golf, which is a little bit different than your Top Golf, which you just hitting the ball. This actually, you're going to actually putt it into from putting green. So I think the majority are like 80 to 100 yards for the par 3s, so not something that most people couldn't do. So that's going to give a little more activity. They're going to have a clubhouse. They'll have food and beverage and so forth afterwards or before, whenever. And that looks really, really, really inviting. There is going to be a surgical center on that piece of property. They've already got the certificate of need done. And then some other things. Of course, the biggest issue for the developer is that property is a little tough piece of property back there. There's several mine shafts that have to be reclamated, and so it'll probably take a year or more to get that thing ready to be able to actually start construction. But the great thing is he's been approved to move on, and I think most people out there are excited. Phase 1 has been such a huge success. If phase 2 does anything like phase 1, it's going to be a home run.
That's great. Hey, Mayor, you've been in office now. This is your first year, and you were chief of police for a long time, so you're used to administration. Before I forget, I want to ask you, transitioning into mayor, what have you learned about yourself, and what did you not expect about this job? Has there been anything that's really shocked you and surprised you about time commitments? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
what's it been like, the change?
Several things. The time commitments to the job is a lot more than I would have ever anticipated. As a police chief for 21 years, I think we had a very, very well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
And coming into the mayor's office, not quite as well-oiled, and culture different. 225 employees in the police, 800 in the city. So it's different. And trying to bring the culture that I want, and the culture that I want is in the police department. Don't ever say no, we can't do something, unless you try to do it, and you try to find ways to do it. And then if you can't, then no is a lot easier answer because you've tried a lot of different ways. Mm-hmm. And some of the things that I heard during the campaign was, it says you could make 10 days to get a permit to build something. Why is every time I get a permit, it took 10 days to get it? How come we can't get it sooner? So, just trying to make sure that the culture is that let's try to do something as quickly as we can. And I would say the time commitment for myself has been really extraordinary. A lot of, not only all day, but nights. But the thing that I've learned, Police department, you wanted things done yesterday. Government, man, if the wheels of government are the justice I thought was slow. The regular government is so slow that can't get things done anywhere near as quickly as I would love to get things done.
You talking about just the bureaucracy?
Bureaucracy, yes,
Okay.
yeah, and that's what I've got a great team together, and the team works very, very hard, but there are just some things that we're trying to change, just because sometimes it doesn't make any sense, and just because we're doing something the same way for 20, 25 years doesn't necessarily mean it's the right way to do it. So I think we've made some good inroads into that. And I think the culture of the city is good. I think we've got some tremendous employees. Public safety still doing what they were doing prior to that, which is, people want to move to a community for usually two reasons: safety and great schools.
Great.
And we've got both, and that's why I'm proud to say that we've got a great city.
So that brings up the question that I've talked a lot about on this show that you may not know about. And I know there was a report out, I guess, about a month ago that Hoover was considered one of the 10 top cities in the United States. I think it was number 6 on the list.
Yes, correct.
But yeah. So that's your time to shine and be proud of what you are the ambassador of. How great is
it's great, and it's something that we're loved when other people take a look at us and come up with the same results that we already know. We know that we got a great city, and it's a great city. Again, we talked about the schools. The school system is phenomenal. What they do every day is unbelievable. Literally, our public safety is fantastic. We've got a community that people care about each other. We've got a community where our demographics are fantastic. When you look at our household income, and you look at how much a house sells for, all those things are really the best in Central Alabama, to be frank. And when others say that, we looked at you, y'all look pretty good, but we know we look pretty good, and we just try to make sure that everybody else understands that. But again, I go back to the fact that people are not going to move to community unless they feel safe, and especially in today's world. And I can assure you that our public safety, not only from police to our fire department has an ISO 1 rating, which is the best rating you can have in America. And I can't remember how many thousands and thousands of fire departments are rated in this country. There's only like 100 some odd that are ISO 1 in the whole United States. Not many in the state of Alabama. So again, we take public safety very, very serious, and we actually cut the ribbon on the new fire station.
I was just going to mention that. Yeah. This week, y'all just cut the ribbon on a new fire station up at Hoover.
Yeah, it was station number 1. Station number 1 was built in 1967, right? And a long time ago. A few modifications since then, thank God. But the funny thing to me is when it opened up in the 60s, it was the fire station, it was the police station, it was City Hall, and it was the jail. Wow. It was all encompassed. And when I said jail, and they said, yeah, if they ever arrested somebody, they put them in the bathroom and lock the door. That was the jail.
That's interesting. On Highway 31.
Highway 31, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, now you go from that one, it actually opened as a volunteer station to begin with, and then 2 years later it became City Hall. But now we've got 11 fire stations. We've got 185 full-time firemen and women.
That's great. We're talking with Mayor Hoover, the mayor of Hoover, Nick Derzis. I got about 14 more minutes with you, Mayor, and I really appreciate your time today.
Yes, sir.
I've really enjoyed it. I want to take you back 3 years.
Okay.
You're the police chief of Hoover. The Carly Russell story. And I bring it up because I've been a lawyer for a long time. And I went on vacation that week. And after you heard the story once or twice looped on the news, I thought, something just doesn't sound right about this. I mean, it just didn't take long for the average person to go, something just doesn't smell right. All right. From your perspective, how long did it take you to go, we got a problem here?
Well, it was 3 years ago, this past July 13th.
I know.
It was a Friday night. I remember vividly. I was at home that evening. Get the phone call from one of our officers. Say, hey, we just had a call about a girl called from her cell phone saying that she saw a baby on 459, and she followed the baby for a period of time. Didn't really know how far, but followed the baby for a period of time. And then all of a sudden, when she was talking, the phone ends up dead. The police respond up there. They find purse, car still running, telephone on the seat, but no sign of a baby or no sign of an individual. So the first question I asked was, how many other calls do we have about the baby? And they said, none. I said, okay, so thank you, and then hung up. And my wife, because I was on speaker phone, my wife said, oh my goodness, that sounds terrible. And I said, doesn't sound right, you know. So immediately to me, it didn't sound right. But here's what I learned in my 45 years as a police officer. There were a lot of times that I heard things that didn't seem right, and I would have thrown the flag to say, then that probably didn't happen, and it did. And then there'd be times that I think something really did happen and find out that it didn't. So for the 21 years as police chief, I would never, ever call the captain or the assistant chief and say, hey, this doesn't look right. I would just say, hey, we're going to get all the facts, and the facts will tell the story. And within, 36 hours, we had a lot of facts. Yeah. We had her computer and the things that she had looked up and different
the searches.
Yeah, the take-in and all the different things that she had done, and saw where she had left her place of employment and left with some money that didn't belong to her, and then went to Target and bought some cookies and snacks and stuff deal. So, again, when I did my press conference, which were several, which was the thing that was really shocking is how you do press conferences and it's your local media and you recognize everybody because you watch local media, and then all of a sudden you're getting pumped with questions. And you're looking at these people that are talking to you, and you're usually watching them doing national news stories from New York and Washington, D.C., but here we are in Hoover, Alabama. So that was a little significant. And I would say a little more pressure because in that scenario, now I know this is going nationwide and eventually, internationally, that you wanted to make sure that that me as a police chief in the police department, you want to come across like you know what you're doing. I mean, how many times have we watched some national news and somebody gets up and we go, man, that guy didn't know what the heck he was talking about. So, there's a little pressure to make sure that you come across the way you want to come across. And, obviously I think everything did. We all were, and again, I'm a team guy. It's not about me. It's about the Hoover Police Department at that point in time. And we had a great team that put everything together. I just happened to be the face as the chief. And again, as I said, day one, we wanted to make sure that Carly Russell returned to her family safe and sound, and that's what happened. So that was the positives. There were negatives, but that was the positive.
Yeah, and I just want to say out of that story, and I mean this sincerely, I don't want anybody to be ever judged their whole life on their worst day when they're really young. Yeah. Because people make mistakes when they're young.
Agreed.
And I've represented a lot of people that are good people and make really stupid decisions. Mm-hmm. And just for the listeners out there, I mean this sincerely. Whether she has to leave the state or change her name, I hope that someday in life this doesn't become her defining moment, like a Monica Lewinsky or what I call the Long Island Lolita. Isn't that what they called her? The girl that shot the boy, the guy she was having an affair with. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
Sure.
That one moment, I hope, really doesn't define the rest of her life because she's way too young for that. I really mean that.
No, and I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Listen, we want that was a tough few days that you put us through. I would have appreciated maybe an apology. Probably would have appreciated getting paid back some of the money that we expanded. And again, when something like that happens, we had guys that didn't sleep 24, 36 hours that were out doing work and searching on this thing. And, police are just like just like you, just regular guys, regular women, and you're leaving your family for that period of time to go do something that you shouldn't even be doing because it didn't happen. And that's probably the thing that upsets more than anything else is the fact that, police work very, very, very hard and do a heck of a job. And then again, we had people that came from all over the state of Alabama to search.
And I think, Mayor, if I remember correctly, and if I'm wrong, you're going to tell me, that changed the law after that.
Yes.
There was a new state legislature law passed after that to raise the penalty.
That is correct. Now, if you pulled a stunt like that, it's not a misdemeanor
Right.
where you would just, maybe go to a city jail for a little bit. You're going to do, if you get convicted, you're going to do a year and a day and at least a state penitentiary.
Yeah.
So hey, let's hope
Yeah.
that saves somebody some heartache and whatever police department some heartache if they ever had to deal with it again.
Right.
And let me say this to you too: the thing that again, I'm proud to say that a lot of people would say, oh, because of that incident, now if somebody else ever called and thought somebody was abducted, maybe the police won't put forth the effort. And I can tell you that police departments don't work like that. I mean, we take every case serious, and if somebody called in something like that again, we would try to find out if it's legitimate, if it's not. But again, I'm a facts guy. Show me the facts, and we'll figure it out.
Well, I mean, I think 2 days ago I had an Amber Alert that came up on my phone at like 6 o'clock.
Yeah. I was in a restaurant. Yeah.
And then I think it went away really fast after that or something.
Yeah.
I don't know all the facts on that one, but I mean, those come up all the time.
They do.
Mayor, I got about 4 minutes left with you.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you whatever time you want to say to the Conservative Talk listeners of Alabama about Hoover before you get out of here, sir.
Yeah. Well, first of all, for the conservative folks, probably that kind of fits me pretty to a T. We've got a great community. Our community steps up when they need to step up. We're very diverse. Very, very proud to call Hoover home, and very, very, very proud to lead the men and women who work for the city. It's something that I never, ever, ever thought about, honestly. And I went home one day after a city council meeting that I did not like what I saw take place in the city council meeting. I saw where citizens were coming to city council meetings and trying to ask questions and weren't getting answers. And I felt like this is government for the people, by the people. And if these people here, they were voted in by the people that are asking the questions, and you're not getting answers. So one day I went home and told my wife, I said, this is really getting ridiculous, and I know that I can do a better job than what I'm seeing. And that was really the catalyst for me to consider running for mayor. And again, not an easy deal to go to incumbent mayor of 9 years and say, I'm running against you as a police chief. Yeah. Not a good conversation. But yeah, I'm proud of.
But didn't I see a story? I may be wrong, where he kind of encouraged you to do that
at one point. He did.
Okay.
About 3 or 4 or 5 months before that happened, he thought about maybe not running and wanted me to consider it. And to be honest with you, I told him I'm running for mayor. Mm-hmm. And then started seeing things in the city council meetings that I didn't like. And actually went to him and talked about some of them. I didn't like his answer, and that was really, again, the catalyst to say, hey, again, I knew one thing. I knew last August, end of August when we had the election, I knew that night that either I would be the police chief for a few more months, and then I would be retiring and becoming the mayor, or I may not be the police chief for a few more months. So my wife said you could always get a job, at Walmart or somewhere, whatever.
I think you're going to be fine either way. Hey, let me ask you, and it may be too soon for you to think about this.
Okay.
Have you thought about how long you want to do this, or is it too soon for that question?
Yeah, I would say that probably too soon. What I want to do is to me and the team that I've got want to make a positive impact on the community. And I said the night that I got elected, I said, I want people a few years down the road that didn't vote for me to see where we were and to say, you know what, the guy's done a good job. And that's what I want.
Well, you know, you're about a year in from the election, almost.
Yeah.
And you have just been going 90-0 like Trump. I mean, I see you everywhere. I saw you up in D.C. last week, and you have a lot of positive energy, and you are a great ambassador for the city of Hoover. And I really believe that's what you really are. You are the face of Hoover, and I think you're doing a fabulous job at what you're doing.
Joe, I appreciate you saying that, and I appreciate you having me on. It's been a good. It's gone quick. We've talked a lot.
Well, I've had to harass you all summer. I know you didn't want to do it, but I really appreciate you taking the time to do it. This has meant a lot to me. I've looked forward to this for weeks, and I try to prepare for all my guests. I don't want you to come in and just get routine questions. I hope that I try to give you good questions that you haven't heard somewhere, or questions that you feel are beneficial to the people that are listening to the broadcast.
I can honestly say I've enjoyed it, and I do look forward to a return visit if that's possible.
Mayor, if you come back, you'll make my day. I'm not kidding. John will tell you. I mean,
Well,
I got Barry Moore in here, and I made him stay 2 hours, and then I was shocked. But anyway, okay. Well, folks, you have heard the mayor of Hoover, Nick Derzis, for the first hour of the show, and he is fabulous. And I tell you what, if you live in Hoover, you should be very proud to get out and see him. He works 24/7. He is doing a great job, and I'm looking. It looks like some good things are about to take progress here over at the Galleria here in the next 12 months. So we made some good news here today on that. And, you know, we're getting ready to start school in a couple of weeks. I know you're going to be really busy, right?
Get busy, yeah.
What's your schedule? Do you even know every day what you do, or somebody just tell you, hey, Mayor, this is what you're doing today?
We go over the schedule before I leave. Like tonight, I know what I'm doing Monday. My assistant, Crystal, does a great job of telling me where I need to be.
All right. We'll be back after news and weather. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Bye.
You're listening to The Legal Lowdown with your lawyer, Joe Ingram. If you need confidential legal help off air, reach out to Joe at joeingramlaw.com. Stay tuned for more. Joe will be right back after this break for news and weather.
You know, here on The Legal Lowdown, we talk a lot about protecting what's yours. So let me tell you about the folks I trust to do exactly that around your home. Shelby Fence Company. For over 30 years, this is the name the Birmingham metro area has trusted for fence installation and repair, done right the first time. They do wood, aluminum, chain link, even agricultural fencing, both residential or commercial. They design it to fit your property. They build it with quality materials to stand up to Alabama weather, and they show you when they show up on time. They even remove and replace. Their crews are professional. The workmanship speaks for itself. So whether you're putting up a brand new fence or fixing the one that you've got, call the team I trust, Shelby Fence Company, at 205-664-1551, or you can find them at shelbyfencecompany.com. Tell them Joe sent you. Flat Fee Real Estate of Birmingham. What sets us apart from other real estate brokerages? Flat Fee Real Estate of Birmingham is a full-service real estate brokerage that can significantly reduce the amount you pay to sell your home. There are no high commission fees here. Our brokerage was established right here in Birmingham over 10 years ago, and they remain locally owned and operated. Here you will find agents with over 50 years of combined service and experience, and with excellent performance, whether listing or buying with us. We're there with you every step of the way so you feel confident you've made the right decision when it comes to your home. Give us a call today, Flat Fee Real Estate of Birmingham.
You're listening to The Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram. Joe is a 20-year veteran of the Alabama courts specializing in criminal defense and family law. If you need a private legal consultation, email Joe at joeingramlaw.com. And now, welcome back to The Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram.
All right. You're listening to Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram, your Alabama lawyer, on WERC 105.5 in Birmingham, WBHP up in Huntsville, and WRTR in Tuscaloosa. This is the second hour. If you missed the first hour, please go back and listen to the podcast, because we just had a fabulous interview with the mayor of Hoover, Nick Derzis. Very impressive man. He was the police chief for over 20 years. He's been the mayor for a year, and he broke some news today, and man, he just knocked it out of the park. He made my job so easy. It was fun. I really enjoyed these interviews. By the way, next week, we're going to have the mayor of Homewood on the show, so you'll want to tune in for that as well. And then the week after that, we've got Amy Aiken on the show. She's running for the congressional district that Terry Sewell's in, so you'll want to be listening in as well. And we've got guests booked for the next 6 or 8 weeks out. So we've got some really great interviews that I've been working on that we're going to bring to you, and you're going to enjoy those. Okay, didn't get to mention in the first hour, we're always proud of our sponsors. Flat Fee Real Estate of Birmingham. Flat Fee Real Estate of Birmingham. They have been in business for over 10 years. They're locally owned. They have a combined years of 30 years of experience. They're with you every step of the way. They're very trained. They're very professional. If you need a realtor in the state of Alabama and in the greater Birmingham area, Flat Fee Real Estate is the person to call and the name to know, Flat Fee Real Estate of Birmingham. Also, a sponsor of our show is Shelby Fence Company. Shelby Fence Company. If you need a fence in the greater Birmingham area, call Tim at 205-664-1551. 205-664-1551. Shelby Fence Company. Whether you need a commercial or residential fence, whether it's wood, aluminum, chain link, whatever you need, Shelby Fence Company is the name you need to know if you need a fence, and you can look them up on the web. As always, if you need to call me, you can look us up, joeingramlaw.com, joeingramlaw.com. My phone number is 205-825-5297, 205-825-5297. Okay, folks, we are in the middle of July. I told you summer goes by fast. School's going to start here in roughly, 3 or 4 weeks. Kiddies go back to school. Before you know it, football season will be starting. And we're going to talk about some national news this week. And we get to start with my buddy. I don't have a choice. I have to do it. We have to start with Comrade Mandami up in New York. He can't help himself. He just cannot help himself. Wait a minute. Before I do Comrade Mandami, I promised some marital jokes. Okay, just bear with me just a second. I got 2 jokes for you. And this is a man and a car together riding down the road. So women, you're going to enjoy this. This is about men. All right, you ready? Here we go. Let me get to the joke. When I get there, I have to get ahead of myself sometimes. If you listen to Mayor Derzis, he's really fabulous. He's very good at what he does. Let me find my joke. Joe. Here we go. We're almost there. We're there. Okay. We could be driving back to our own house, and my wife will turn to me, and she'll say, "You need to turn left." And I will say, "Thank God you're in the car, because if you weren't here, I wouldn't know what to do. I've lost my mind." And if she wasn't in the car, I'd just be riding around in a field, going in circles. And a cop would pull me over and say, "What are you doing, son?" And I'd say, "Well, I'm driving around, but my wife isn't in the car." And he would say, "Well, this time I'm going to give you a warning ticket, but next time be sure you have your wife in the car, because you don't know what you're doing." And I can be in the car with my wife, and she can tell me, "There's a red light coming up. You need to stop." Well, thank you that my wife's in the car, because if it wasn't for her, gosh, I must run every red light in the world. See, if the princess sitting in the car, I can't even get out of the rain. All right, that's one little joke. It's funnier by the person that tells it than me. I'm not that funny. Okay. Comrade Mandami, I got to talk about him. He continues to show his ignorance every week, and he did it again this week, believe it or not. He came out and said he wanted to arrest the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, and he essentially called him a war criminal. Yes, he said he was going to arrest him in New York. And then somebody must have got to him and told him he's not that important, and he doesn't have to do that. So he gave another speech, and he recanted, if you will, that he doesn't really have the power to arrest the prime minister of a foreign country, by the way, as one of our greatest allies, and we're in a war with Iran right now. So he had to withdraw that. So that brings us up to the next subject of the Democratic Socialist Party of America. These people cannot get out of their own way. They literally cannot right now. In fact, the person that is running up in Michigan, his name is El Said, that's running as a socialist. Believe it or not, it was in the news this week that a lot of people of the Jewish faith said, quote, that normally vote Democrat. If this is our choice, we are going to vote for Republicans and hold our nose. I told you, if it comes down to either socialism or capitalism, socialism is going to lose every time. People are not that stupid, and they surely are not going to vote for somebody that has come out and said that he wants to support the Palestinian state and get rid of the Jewish state. That's crazy, even in Michigan. These people cannot help themselves. And then it came out this week that in 2028, their chosen candidate is AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York. Are you kidding me? They want her to be the presidential candidate for the Democrats? If they do, I am thrilled. Here's why. Whoever the Republican candidate is will carry, I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to carry 40 plus states. There is no way in this world AOC is going to come to the South and carry heartland of America. No way would she play here. She came down here to Selma back in March, wasn't it, John? For the coming over the bridge walk. She doesn't have the appeal to mainstream America that she does up there in crazy New York land. So if they want AOC to be their candidate, I am tickled to death. They have made my day. I mean, that socialism is just not going to work, and we're going to find out really fast. And I think there's been some polls in the past week, and the Democrats are really concerned in New York because the votes aren't there for them. They may not get the Senate. Now, they may get the House. but I don't know that they're going to get the Senate. So this socialism thing, if I was a Democrat, I would come out and say, I'm not for it. And here's what they want to do. They don't even hide it. They have said, we want to do away with the United States Senate. We want to do away with the Supreme Court. We want to do with the President of the United States and call him whatever you want to call him, the head honcho. Are you kidding me? The leader of the free world? We're going to do away with the presidency? Oh, and by the way, we kind of like the idea of having maybe a prime minister of like England. Let me tell you how well that has worked out in England the last 5 years. I think they've had somewhere between 3 and 5 prime ministers in the last 5 years under King Charles III's watch. Not saying he's responsible. I'm just saying a long time ago, the prime ministers lasted a lot longer. The turnover right now in England is really bad, and it has a lot to do with all the Muslims that are in England that they've let into their country, by the way. So the socialists have told you what they want to do. They want to do with the Supreme Court. They want to do away with the Senate. They want to get rid of the president. They want to control your life, and they want to take all your money if you have any money. And if you don't have money, they're just going to give you what they call your fair share allotment to make you happy and fat, so you'll just go along with whatever they say. All right. So that is my thoughts on socialism. And by the way, have you heard any of the mainstream media, what we call the drive-by media, CNN, NBC, CBS? Have you heard any of them talk about that socialism is not good for our country? No, not yet. No one has come out on the record and said this is not good for us, except one big voice in the Democratic Party, James Carville, who has a huge podcast, and he also helped President Bill Clinton get elected. Carville said, if this is what we're going to do to the Democratic Party, I am out. This is a lost cause. I'm telling you, if you're a Democrat and you want to stay silent and say that you accept socialism, you're killing your own self in your candidacy to stay in office. People are just not going to vote for that in America. I'm telling you, it's just not going to happen. Other news this week. Jack Smith, the former federal prosecutor that Joe Biden, that looks like a war criminal, Dementia Biden put him on to destroy Trump before Biden left office. That at all costs may now be facing a federal indictment himself as well. He has been making the rounds on favorable news organizations to promote his cause, that I think I'm going to be indicted. Well, yeah, you should, and here's why. There's been a report out this week. Republicans are urging the Justice Department to investigate former prosecutor Jack Smith. Why? Here's why. The Republicans are urging the Justice Department to investigate him criminally as a former special prosecutor, alleging that he made false statements last year about his effort to gather phone records of lawmakers. House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan of Ohio wrote that the DOJ last Wednesday to argue that Smith, quote, seemingly made willfully and intentionally false statements, quote, when he answered questions under oath last December in front of Congress. The criminal referral of Smith marks another step in a campaign by President Trump's administration to try to correct attacking your political opponents, if you will. Now, I don't think this is right on either side of the aisle, whether it's Democrats or Republicans. But what they have alleged is that Jack Smith, in some of his subpoenas, was wiretapping members of Congress's cell phones and their text messages. That's just wrong all day long. You cannot investigate your political opponents because you don't like them. That makes us look like a third world country. I don't care who does it, Republicans or Democrats. This stuff has got to stop. It is just not a good look for us as a country, okay? So I really hope that if this is true, that they send the referral to the DOJ, and they may have to appoint a special prosecutor, unfortunately, as usual, and it would be the right thing to do to determine if Jack Smith should be prosecuted. And there's been lots of stories about when they came in. Have you heard the stories about the burn bags that they found in the FBI building in these special rooms that had all these evidence and all these documents? Well, for whatever reason, somebody did not burn the burn bags. Somebody had either a moment of conscience and said, you know, we're going to leave this evidence and let somebody else make a decision, or maybe they just forgot to burn the burn bags. I don't know. Either way, there's a lot of evidence there. And, you know, Trump's been in office now going on, roughly 18 months. And it takes a long time to uncover this stuff. And if the election goes for the Democrats, well, there's not going to be any investigations of Jack Smith come January of 27. All they're going to do is try to impeach Trump for a third time. I can assure you. That's all they're going to do is investigate President Trump after January of 27. So it is really important that if they make a criminal referral, that they move fast on this to see what comes out of it. All right. Some lawyers for Jack Smith released their own letter to Jim Jordan and the DOJ on Wednesday night, asserting, quote, truthful, responsive answers to Congress last year were made. They go on to add, this referral reflects a chilling eagerness to weaponize the justice system by attacking a career nonpartisan public servant who faithfully and fearlessly performed his duties, following the facts and the law, end of quote. Are you kidding me? You weren't investigating President Trump. You were investigating members of Congress that were Republicans, not Democrats, just Republicans. Just keep that in mind. Okay. The next story that was big news this week. The Department of Justice has ended its oversight. This is a state story. This is not a national story. Have good news by the Alabama Department of Corrections. This story came out this week that the Department of Justice has ended its oversight of the Alabama Women's Prison after decades of reform at the Julia Tutwiler Prison down in South Alabama. In 2015, the prison was put under a lot of allegations of sexual abuse by a federal judge in Montgomery, and they entered a consent decree that the Department of Justice had to make sure that the prison was following a number of guidelines and regulations to come in line, if you will. And that consent decree was removed this week by a federal judge. Attorney General Steve Marshall made an announcement the other day about this judgment, how it marks an important milestone for Alabama over the last decade, that the Department of Corrections has made real, measurable progress in strengthening oversight and safety at Tutwiler. And this judgment reflects that work of the consent decree required Alabama to change the staffing, the training policies, the oversight, and how allegations of abuse were reported and investigated after it was determined that Julia Tutwiler was finally in compliance with all 44 requirements of the consent decree. And therefore, they lifted the restraining oversight, if you will. So that's good news for Alabama and the Department of Corrections, because they are in the news all the time about how inmates are treated in prisons in Alabama. And yes, it's real, and yes, it's a true story. Okay. There has been a lot of news about law firms starting to use AI technology for legal research and writing. In fact, there has been a number of stories over the last 18, 24 months, because AI has been relatively new. Some big firms, and when I say big firms, I'm talking big national plaintiff firms, have been hit with sanctions in federal court for using AI research and citing cases that are, made up. and they're not real cases. And the judges have gone and looked them up and said, where did you get this information? This is not true. Well, Judge, we used, Westlaw, or we used Nexus Westlaw or Nexus Lexus. And we didn't check the citations to see if the cases were real. In fact, there was a case about a month ago over in Mississippi. Lawyers on both sides of the case, not just the plaintiff, but the defendant, were all accused of using fake AI research case law that was not true. All of the lawyers got sanctioned by this judge in Mississippi. So this is a huge, huge story for the legal community and the legal industry. Okay? So, the Alabama State Bar and a number of other state bars have started doing some due diligence about not really setting law, if you will, but making ethical guidelines on the use of AI research. And we just had our annual meeting for the Alabama State Bar down at Point Clear a couple weeks ago. And this information has just been released in the last week. So we're going to talk about what the Alabama State Bar, what other states are talking about, like North Carolina, Georgia, California, some model rules, some model ethics to go by when you use AI legal research for when you write a brief or you write a motion to a judge. These aren't laws yet. These are just some go-bys, if you will, that they're hoping that we use to do a better job in what we do. We're going to go to news and weather, and then we'll be back for the last segment of the show. We'll be back in just a minute.
listening to The Legal Lowdown with your lawyer, Joe Ingram. If you need confidential legal help off air, reach out to Joe at joeingramlaw.com. Stay tuned for more. Joe will be right back after this break for news and weather.
Flat Fee Real Estate of Birmingham. What sets us apart from other real estate brokerages? Flat Fee Real Estate of Birmingham is a full-service real estate brokerage that can significantly reduce the amount you pay to sell your home. There are no high commission fees here. Our brokerage was established right here in Birmingham over 10 years ago, and they remain locally owned and operated. Here you will find agents with over 50 years of combined service and experience, and with excellent performance, whether listing or buying with us. We are there with you every step of the way so you feel confident you've made the right decision when it comes to your home. Give us a call today, Flat Fee Real Estate of Birmingham. You know, here on the Legal Lowdown, we talk a lot about protecting what's yours. So let me tell you about the folks I trust to do exactly that around your home. Shelby Fence Company. For over 30 years, this is the name the Birmingham metro area has trusted for fence installation and repair, done right the first time. They do wood, aluminum, chain link, even agricultural fencing, both residential or commercial. They design it to fit your property. They build it with quality materials to stand up to Alabama weather, and they show you when they show up on time. They even remove and replace. Their crews are professional. The workmanship speaks for itself. So whether you're putting up a brand new fence or fixing the one that you've got, call the team I trust, Shelby Fence Company, at 205-664-1551, or you can find them at shelbyfencecompany.com. Tell them Joe sent you.
You're listening to The Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram. Joe is a 20-year veteran of the Alabama courts specializing in criminal defense and family law. If you need a private legal consultation, email Joe at joeingramlaw.com. And now, welcome back to The Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram.
All right, you're listening to Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram, your Alabama lawyer, on WERC 105.5 in Birmingham, WBHP up in Huntsville, and WRTR in Tuscaloosa. This is the final segment of the week. Before we went to break, we're talking a little bit about AI research for legal research and writing. And the Alabama State Bar has recognized that AI is rapidly moving into the area of legal research and writing and drafting of documents, using it to summarize evidence and go through big boxes of evidence that would take forever in the past. And so to help lawyers, they have developed, if you will, some model rules of ethics on using the new technology for writing contracts, for going through lots of discovery documents. We as lawyers have to be cognizant of the time it takes if you used it to write a contract as opposed to doing it the old way if you're using AI research. Should I charge a client 3 hours to do a contract when it takes AI 45 minutes? No. I should only charge maybe an hour, 45 minutes for the AI research, and maybe 15 minutes to review it, if you will. It's just being a good steward, if you will, of clients' money and not overbilling your client and charging them for work that you're not really doing. Now, you're also having to pay for the technology of having the AI technology that we have now as well. So it is an office expense that we incur. However, if AI can do something in 10 minutes that would take me 2 hours, then I really shouldn't bill a client more than maybe a half an hour. 10 minutes for the computer to give me the research and maybe 30 minutes for me to review it, if you will. And so a number of states have followed the same rules. Alabama has looked to North Carolina, has looked to California, even Georgia as well, in coming up with the new rules for using AI technology. And so for the lawyers out there that listen to this show and maybe have not seen this news story or saw it in the bulletin that will be coming out soon from the state bar, now you're aware of the new ethics opinion, if you will, from the state bar of how to use AI technology. Before we cover some divorce material this week, for those of you that are still following along, to become successful, nobody knows great when they're working, only the days. The days that you're tired, the days that you're sore, you do it anyway. The days that you don't feel good, you do it anyway. The days that you're sore, you go run anyway. The days that it rains, you should go run anyway. Now, I don't run in the rain anymore because I made a commitment to God about 20 years ago. If he'd let me finish a race in Louisiana, I would never run in the rain again. And so I stick to that commitment. I do not run in the rain. Otherwise, if you're going to be successful, you have to stick discipline and do everything you're supposed to do every day, whether you like it or not. You have to stick to your commitments. Success comes when you stop giving yourself excuses. If you remember, I've been talking a lot about the number of women that anticipate between being the ages of 20 and 30 in the next couple of years. There was a poll done recently by the Harris poll, which found that 53% of engaged women that are married, Americans, under the age of 45, have a prenup, which is greatly increased from just a few years ago. Now, I want to stop just a second and talk about prenups. Prenups are not a bad thing. In fact, I've done more prenups in the last 2 years than I have done in the last 10 years. And so that tells you that there is a good trend here. A prenup, if you will, is an insurance policy. It's an insurance policy. Here's why. You've already made a contract that if this marriage does not make it, you've already predetermined how the marriage is going to end. There's not going to be a fight. You're not going to need a bunch of lawyers. There's not going to be a bunch of litigation costs because you've already made a contract of how this is going to end. Now, it may not sound sexy. It may not sound romantic. However, in today's world, people, and I'm not talking about people in second marriages. I'm talking about people getting married the first time. People are coming into marriages that already have good jobs, good occupations, maybe have investments, have 401ks, have stock accounts, retirement accounts, whatever, real estate, property that they've inherited. They don't want to have to fight with somebody about the property that they have. So they get a prenup. In fact, I have somebody coming in Monday to sign a prenup that we've been working on for the last 3 weeks. My client was a little cagey, if you will, at start to do it. But I said, look, this isn't a really bad thing. You know, your spouse has a lot of assets, and they just want some, if you will, an insurance policy or protection that if this marriage doesn't go well, that they're protected. And I said, by the way, you know, this prenup that we're doing, it could be modified into a postnuptial down the road. Or then again, if the two of you decide to have children, the two of you may decide to get rid of the prenup altogether. So just because you have a prenup is not a bad thing. it's actually a good thing. And I really promote it now for clients that come into the marriage that have significant assets, that do not want to have to worry about, is my spouse going to take half of whatever we've accumulated? The only way that would count is if you commingle the assets or you commingle the funds. Then it would become joint assets or joint property. As long as you keep it separate and you have a prenup, it's your property. So prenups are not a bad thing to do. They're really not a bad thing to do in today's society. Okay. All right, that's my little spiel about prenups this week. Okay. Now, I was reading some content for the show this last week for divorce material. And there are 24 rules in this book I was reading that you need to know about marriage. First, love is not enough. Love is not enough. Love makes relationships start, but after the chemistry fades, love is not enough to keep it going. You have to respect each other after the romance dies. Respect. First, respect yourself and respect yourself. Respect your spouse. And your spouse needs to feel safe if she's a female. She always needs to feel safe. She needs to feel admired. And she needs to feel heard. Next, communication is everything. If you are in a marriage and you have silence, silence kills a marriage faster than shouting. I have men come in all the time, and I will ask them questions of, well, what's going on in your marriage? I don't know. We don't talk about anything. Do you talk about money? No, she pays the bills. Do you talk about your emotions with your wife? No, we don't talk about emotion. Do you talk about how your day's going? No, we don't talk about anything. Do you talk about the kids? No, we don't talk about the kids. We don't communicate at all. Well, that's why you're sitting in my office. The communication lack has killed your marriage. So communication is highly important in a marriage. Fourth, choose character over chemistry. Choose character over chemistry. Attraction will fade. A person's integrity, their patience, and their empathy do not change. They may not be the most exciting person, but they will always be the most consistent person in your life, and they will always tell you the truth. This is really important for men. I tell men this all the time. I say, go look at your spouse's or future spouse's mother. This is what your wife potentially will look like in 30 years. If you like the mother, then you're going to be okay. If you don't like your future mother-in-law, you need to have a second thought about this. That's really important. Always look at your future mother-in-law when you look at your bride. That's going to give you a really good chance of what you're going to inherit. Okay? That's important for men. All right. And I'm not talking about just physical looks. I'm talking about how they act. I'm just talking about their whole personality, the whole person, not just their looks. Okay? So women don't crucify me and think I'm talking about just looks here. All right. That's really important. Marriage is a daily work. After the wedding, you're going to have to work at this 365 days a year. This person, you hopefully, that you're going to grow old with 30 or 40 years. Marriage is a daily grind. Next, don't marry, marry what you hope they're going to be. Now, this falls in the category for women. Do not marry somebody with the potential of what you think they're going to be. And here's what I mean by that. Well, Mom, I'm dating this guy, and he's going to medical school, and I think he's going to be a doctor, and he'll be a good provider for us and our family. That is not the reason to marry the person of what you think they're going to be. Marry the person for who they are now, because rarely do people change in the future. There are the exceptions, but they are not the rule. Marry the person for who they are now, not what you think they're going to be in the future, okay? Just because they're going to have a profession, be a doctor, be an engineer, be a lawyer, nurse practitioner, whatever it is in life, do not marry somebody for their occupation. Marry the person because it's the right person to be in your life. That's what's most important. So I kind of put that in the female basket. I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. I'm just saying. And on the opposite side of the coin, for men, don't look at that female and say, oh, she's beautiful. She'll be a beautiful wife. We'll have beautiful children. This is the woman I want to marry. Looks are important. Chemistry is really important. After looks and chemistry fade in 10 or 15 years, the person that you marry is what matters most. Their integrity, their patience. Are they going to stand with you when you have bad days? That's what matters more than just looking at the person and their looks and whether you think they're beautiful or attractive. Look at the whole person. So I say that to my male listeners out there as well. Okay? So women, I got on the men as well too about that. All right. Next, emotional safety comes before physical attraction. If you cannot be yourself, if you cannot express your real emotion, if you cannot explain your pain, your weaknesses, then you have found the wrong partner. Never compete with your partner. Marriage is not a scoreboard. And hopefully, we've talked about this. We had a marriage counselor on a couple weeks ago. Hopefully, you and your spouse win together and you and your spouse lose together. You're on a team. If I do well, my spouse does well. If I'm failing, my spouse is failing. And the same goes the other way. If my wife is not doing well, then I'm not doing well. If she's being successful, then again, I'm being successful. It's a team. You're on team, whatever you call yourself at your house. You're a team. You don't compete with your spouse. You want you both to be successful in whatever you do. All right? Okay. Next, when you get married, you marry their habits. Pay attention to how they act when you're dating them. How do they treat their parents? How do they treat their siblings? How do they treat people out in public? How do they handle stressful situations? These are all signs and symptoms of what you're going to see every day. If you don't like them when you're dating them, you are not going to like them any better once you have the wedding, okay? After you take the vows and you say we're together forever and ever, amen, you're really not going to like somebody after that if you didn't like them before. 10. You need to have shared values. You need to have shared interest, whether it's going to a movie once a month, going to a music concert. Maybe you like going kayaking down the Coosa River in the summer, which I like to do. Whatever your shared goals are, you need to write them down and you need to do them together. Maybe you need to keep a list of, hey, we want to take this trip to Europe next summer. You need to have conversations about what your joint goals and ambitions are for your marriage. Because It goes really fast. You cannot say, well, we're going to take that trip in 10 years or we're going to take that trip sometime. Just go do it. Even if you fail and you can't afford it, I've told you, save up for 24 months and then take the trip. Plan it. Go do it. Life is short. You'll be glad you took the trip. This next one's really important. Money. Money can either build or it will break your marriage when you're young. Here's why. When you get married and you're starting out, you may have student loan debt. You need to have real conversations in your marriage how you're going to handle your finances in your marriage. I have a lot of clients now, for whatever reason, that come in and they say, well, my husband has their account, I have my separate account, and we have a joint account of how we handle joint marital bills. Okay, it's a different generation. For my generation, I like the Dave Ramsey way, Peace University, Financial Peace University. What is mine is Holly's, and what is Holly's is mine's. We are a team. We are together. I don't have to be concerned. I hope not. Until I get off the air today, and then I may be upset when I get home. But anyway, you need to sit down before you get married. And you need to have real conversations how you're going to pay bills. What kind of debt do you want to take on? Do you want to take on debt? Are you willing to sacrifice that car payment and drive an older car that's paid for to save money? It is really important to start saving as young as you can because compounded interest is worth so much more. The earlier you start saving, if you start saving at 45 and you save the same amount of money every month that somebody starts at 25, you'll never catch them. Here's why. Compounded interest. They beat you every time. So it is really, really important to have conversations of how you're going to handle money when you get married. Who's going to pay the bills? Are we going to talk about the big purchases we make? These have lasting impacts on whether or not that marriage is going to be successful or not. Okay, we covered that. And last, forgive fast, but don't forget. Grudges can ruin intimacy in your marriage. You have to learn from your lessons to let go, and you have to be able to forgive. It's not a weakness to forgive, men. It's not a weakness to forgive. Put your ego aside and learn how to say you're sorry and to forgive. It's harder for men than it is for women. All right. Arguments aren't the problem. Disrespect is healthy for couples to fight, as long as you fight fair. And don't bring up past arguments. Stay focused on the issue that you're having the argument about. It's okay to have arguments. It's not okay to dominate your spouse. And the goal is not to win the argument every time. The goal is to resolve the issue and move forward as a couple. That is the goal, is to resolve the issue and move forward. And this next one's a hard one for men. Pride destroys faster than infidelity. I'm sorry. I've told you that marriages can be saved for people that are unfaithful and have been outside their marriage. But pride will destroy a marriage faster than anything else. Couples turn into enemies who share a home. So men need to be careful about watching your ego. And also, you've got to keep your marital problems away from your family and your friends. Now, this is really important. This is really important, and I'm going to stress why. Blood is thicker than water. Your parents are going to love you no matter what you ever do. You don't need to go home and tell your parents about how bad your husband is, because when they see him at Thanksgiving and Christmas, they're not going to like him, okay? So you need to have a rule that what happens in the marriage stays in the marriage. Now, if you decide to divorce your spouse, then you can go home and you can trash them and say everything they ever did, and they can hate them forever. But while you're trying to be married and keep that healthy marriage, never, ever, ever discuss your marital problems with your friends or your family. That's just not a good rule to have. I had that conversation with somebody in my office this week. And matter of fact, I had that conversation with somebody on Thursday about a divorce case. And they understood what I was talking about. That's really important. All right. So we've covered a little information this week. Didn't get to cover everything that I wanted to cover. If you missed the first hour, please go back and listen to the interview with Mayor Derzis. He was a fabulous guest. I appreciated his time. Next week, we have the mayor of Homewood. She is going to be fabulous. It's going to be a great interview. We've got some interviews coming every week for about the next 2 months. They're fabulous guests. They're all rock stars in their own world. You're going to enjoy the interviews. I love the interviews better than anything else. I love the interviews. It's been a good week. I am told next week it's going to be really hot. I think next week's going to be really hot. So get out, have some fun, and I'll talk to you next week. Got to go. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Legal Lowdown with your lawyer, Joe Ingram of Joe Ingram Law. Don't forget to follow Joe's Legal Lowdown podcast on iHeart. If you need a private legal consultation, reach out to Joe on his website, joeingramlaw.com. Tune in again next Saturday for the Legal Lowdown with Joe Ingram. No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by any other lawyer.